Hi, Lisa here. Wanted to tell you a little bit about my Thickened Dye Exploration class. The way it's set up, I have four workstations at a table. Each workstation explores a different way to use thickened dye, and depending on if the amount of time we have available, work on one technique, then pass it around the table so it works like a round robin. And it's really better as a full day class than a half day class, but I wanted to show you some samples. One of the ways of using thickened dye is just with a paintbrush. This was some rectangles that I drew on my fabric and filled it in with stronger or weaker values, mixes of the one color. Another way that you can use is actually using a credit card to spread the thickened dye directly on the fabric. And this can get really, really addictive, but it's fun to work on. Another tool used by traditional artists working with thick, whether it's oil paints or acrylics, is a palette knife. And with dye, we can't have those really textural painted surfaces like you can see with, looks like somebody was spreading icing, and that's on the surface of the painting. But we can use the same tool to apply different sizes and shaped dots of thickened dye, or a slightly different look that was done the same way. This used clear, untinted print paste, and then I used the credit card and scraped, I think I did, put some more colors over top of those bricks of clear. So we end up with two values of the same color because not as much dye got onto the fabric where there was some clear print paste as in the cracks between the stones, if you will. Another place where I used that, I had these all in order and then I think of something else, I used a silk screen of my own design, and I screened the clear print paste onto my fabric. I let that dry, and then I put these general areas through a blank silk screen of, pink and orange and green on top. So you have a negative image. And that gives you a different kind of a look. A more traditional way to use a silk screen is with a stencil. I have very few or practically no silk screens that have a permanent image on them. So this was a stencil, and I put a mixture of green and fuchsia dye on, and then I followed that up with the same image, and I just used clear to lighten up those colors that were already in the screen. So we do get into silk screens and some variations. You can also use a silk screen for a very bold look like this, which was a fabric that was crumpled. Blank screen was put down on top, and a mixture of red and yellow dye was squeegeed right over the surface. So we've done direct paintbrushing or credit card scraping. We've done palette knife applications. We've done different ways of using a silk screen. And then, excuse me, monoprints are the fourth method. And we work on a couple different surfaces because they can actually give you mirror images and different textures. I'm just going to show you briefly. I don't know how you can see there are little bubbly spots of white with dye in the center. And that's actually the mirror image of the dye that was put onto this. So I spread dye onto one board, took a piece of clear vinyl, smushed it out on top of that dye on the board, opened them up, and those two fabrics I just showed you came from the same bunch of dye, but they have different visual surface textures to them because of the different product that the dye was put onto. Boy, I'm running long again. Another really cool looking, I'll finish this up quick. This is another monoprint that used a what's called a catalyst wedge tool. Anyway, monoprints are a whole lot of fun. I'm thinking we could do a half-day class called Monoprints and Mayhem, because you can just fling the thickened dye here and there and have all kinds of fun. So thank you for looking. I hope you personally or your guild would like to have me come in or come here to the studio in Red Hill and learn different ways of applying thickened dye to fabric. Thanks.